This is fall 2012 and we are 6 students at Clemson University studying corruption. The purpose of this video is to showcase what we've done throughout this whole semester. In the first semester we focus on forming an economic model, and next semester we will be focusing on institutions that promote corruption.
My name is Robert Pettis. I'm from Camden, South Carolina, and I'm preparing for graduate school in economics.
Hey, my name is Ryan Richardson, and I am from Greenwood, South Carolina, and I'm an economics major here at Clemson University.
Hey, I'm Michael Sherlock. I'm an economics major, and I'm graduating December 2013.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Emanuel. I'm a senior economics major from Anderson, South Carolina.
Travis Fletcher. I'm from Greer, South Carolina. I'm an econ major, and I'm graduating in 2013.
So far this semester, we've built an economic model, we've run several regressions, and we feel very confident that it's a robust model.
Our hypothesis right now is that happiness, overall well-being, is affected by corruption. If this wasn't the case, then we wouldn't really have much of a need to try to stop corruption.
I actually wasn't very interested in corruption until earlier this year when I read an article about foreign aid money, and I was really shocked to find out that only about 10% of the money actually gets to its intended audience. And so I sort of wanted to find out how corruption plays a role in that and why that is.
I think corruption is a really interesting topic to study because of the new levels of transparency brought about by the media. Whereas probably 100 years ago, corrupt acts could be sort of shuffled under the rug, you have a lot more people that are involved in government and a lot more transparency. And so it becomes newsworthy. And once it becomes newsworthy, I think it's really interesting to study.
I'm interested in corruption because of the correlation of corruption and poverty.
Corruption had a huge impact on the major recession that we're just coming out of now. This recession is going to affect not only the current generation, but the future generation, especially those who are looking for jobs. And since I will soon be entering the job market, figuring out why corruption occurred and why it made it more difficult for me to find a job is very important.
I like to study corruption because it's a pretty frustrating thing to me, just seeing governments take abuse of their power and use it for their own private good instead of for the public good.
At the beginning of the semester, we had a problem solidifying our definition of corruption. The following are different interpretations of corruption that we've come up with throughout the semester.
So I think corruption is an abuse of a position of power for personal gain. But I think it's sort of subjective, because you could have cases like in Peru, a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're trying to get their business licenses, actually end up paying officials extra money, like bribe money, in order to get it done much faster. In the United States, we have something sort of similar when you're applying for your passport. We actually can, for $60, pay the State Department to get it to you faster, to expedite your passport. And so when I'm looking at this, you have to wonder, is there really a difference between these two institutions? Is the passport system also corrupt, or is the sort of bribery system in Peru actually just a way to make the market more efficient by getting these documents to the people that want them the most, the fastest?
An example of corruption is predatory lending in the subprime mortgage market. At the time, lenders were paid on a commission system, and because of that, they forced individuals to take mortgages that they couldn't normally afford simply because those lenders would get paid by commission.
My definition of corruption is somebody using their influence and power for their own private gain.
An example of corruption would be in Zimbabwe, where President Robert Mugabe basically won his own country's lottery, which was actually worth 5 times the amount of the annual GDP per capita of the average Zimbabwean.
So I think that corruption is subject to people's expectations about positions of power. And so you can look at a case like former governor of Illinois, Rod Blagojevich, and his 2008 scandal in which he tried to sell a Senate position, which got him put in prison for corruption. However, if you look at something like President Andrew Jackson's spoils system, you can see that's sort of the same idea, where he was trying to sell these positions in exchange for support. And so his supporters actually would have considered it corruption had he not fulfilled his promises to them about these jobs. And so you have where both of these positions, or these government officials, were trying to sell positions in exchange for campaign support. But because people expected it from Andrew Jackson, most people didn't consider it corruption.
The general consensus is that corruption decreases societal welfare while simultaneously taking the markets out of equilibrium.
So we can also consider corruption as subjective morally. So we can look at the case of Plunkett of Tammany Hall, who had this idea of honest graft. And so Tammany Hall was this political machine in the late 1800s in New York. And what they pretty much ran was this rudimentary public welfare system for immigrants. They would provide them with emergency rent and even food if they needed it in an emergency. And they also used their political influence to benefit their constituents. And so this is sort of what we would consider corruption today. And so they would talk to judges on their behalf to get them out of jail. They would arrange for them to get jobs from people by cashing in political favors. And so we have to consider, is this actually corruption if the people were benefiting from it and it was actually like to their betterment because they didn't really have other options for support at this time.
Which leads us to what we're going to be doing next semester, which is focusing on specific institutions and countries to see if we can better understand the effects of corruption.
Be sure to like us on Facebook at Economics Corruption Creative Inquiry at Clemson.